even if you have such a small window of time to actually work on your business and you're still doing all the other things in life, like we still have to fit that in. Even if it's just a small window of time that you're doing business stuff, you have to find carved time to recharge in those other areas. You have to have that space. All right, I am so pumped up and so excited about this episode because it's going to be juicy. It's going to be so good, and you are going to walk away from this episode knowing exactly how to use your body and your cycle to generate more revenue in your business. And let's be honest, that's what we want, right? We want to build a successful, sustainable business. And really, if your business is not generating revenue, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. So revenue is one of those pieces that has to come with a business. And we want to make sure that your business is set up in a way that allows you that flexibility to be in that more feminine flow that's working with your body at the same time as generating revenue. So this episode, we're going to dive into ways to really leverage your body and your cycle to maximize your revenue, and maybe some mistakes that you might be making. And I will hands up admit that I made most of these mistakes. That is why I'm sharing them with you, because they're mistakes that I've made and I've learned, and I want to impart them over to you so that maybe you don't make the same mistakes that I did. That is one of the beauties of working with a coach or working with somebody who's maybe even just a couple steps ahead of you, because they've made mistakes that they're going to share with you. They're going to give you their knowledge, and they're like, this is what I discovered. This is the road I went down. This is how it happened for me, so that you can avoid some of those pitfalls. I know without a doubt that I would have made far more mistakes. And if I were being really honest with you right now, I probably would not be here recording this podcast episode if I hadn't had my coach. If I hadn't had actually multiple coaches. I've hired so many coaches over the years. And I think that investing in a coach and investing in yourself is one of the greatest assets for your business and your personal life. And I could go down a whole rabbit hole in terms of why investing in yourself is so important and probably deserves an episode of its own. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today, we're talking about ways that you can walk away from this episode, generate revenue, use your body, and create more sustainable revenue. Okay, so let's just dive in, because I don't know I have no clue how long this episode is going to be, because I have so many ideas and so many things that I want to share with you. But really, at the end of the day, we're going to talk about 4 big pieces that are going to help you get into a place that's going to allow your business to generate more revenue in a much easier way. Okay. All right. So number 1 is going to be getting crystal clear on your goals and your vision. And the reason I think this is so powerful is because so many times I find that women are taking on other people's goals. They're taking on other people's visions and adopting it for themselves and not really even sure if that's what they want, right? We hear so often these numbers that are thrown around out there, like a $10,000 month or 6-figure year or a 7-figure year, or any of these numbers that are floating around out there, when in reality, yes, those might be wonderful and great goals, but are they goals that you really want? And I think that that's a really important thing to come back to, is because without knowing if they're really good for you and in alignment with your core values and what matters most to you, they're really just arbitrary goals. And they're out there in the middle of nowhere and they don't mean anything. They're not going to do anything for you to help propel you forward. So you really want to get crystal clear on what the goals are for you. Maybe the $10,000 month is a goal that you want to set for yourself, but I want you to challenge yourself to go a little bit further and say, what is that $10,000 goal going to give you? Is it going to give you more time with your family? Is it going to give you vacations? Is it going to give you the ability to leave your 9-to-5 job? Is it going to give you the ability to retire your spouse? What are those reasons why you have that $10,000 a month goal set on your list? Like, why is that there? Okay. Get crystal clear on that and align it to those core values, those things that really matter to you, because at the end of the day, that's going to fuel you. Now, the best time of the month to do this based on your cycle is actually that time when your bleeding, your menstrual cycle or your menstrual phase, because that is when you're the most in tune with your intuition, the most in tune with those things that matter and that are the most important for you. So hence, this is why if you've heard me before, have heard me say, don't be on social media during this time, because this is super valuable time for you to tap into those deep core values and that vision for you. Okay, so spend some time really journaling out, getting crystal clear on what that vision is and those goals are for you. And then what we're gonna do is I want you to work backwards, because one of the biggest mistakes that I see women doing is focusing on too many things at the same time. So my mentor, he talks about it like a bridge. So we have island A and we want to get to island B, right? Like this is where we are, this is where we want to go. And what most people are doing is building one bridge and they get partial, and then they have another bridge they're building partial, and they're maybe building 10 or 15 different bridges at the same time. And those 10 and 15 different bridges may only make it a quarter of the way there or the halfway there, that none of them ever actually help them get all the way over to island B. So when we focus in, instead of spending all of that energy and all of that time on building 10 or 15 different bridges, if you focus on building one bridge, going from A to B, you're going to be far more successful. I will say this is probably one of the biggest mistakes that I see women in the online business space making. And I did it a lot, in the sense of, well, I'm testing things out, right? I'm testing things out. So we mistakenly, instead of actually leaning into one thing and refining that one thing and working it and tweaking it and marinating it and making it actually perform really well, we test something and it's like, oh, that didn't necessarily work the way I wanted it to. So now I'm going to jump to a new thing. Oh, well, that one definitely didn't work. And so I'm going to jump to a new thing. This is honest, like I'm speaking from my own vulnerability. If I look back and I made a list of all of the things that I have done in the past like 4 or 5 years of building my business, the amount of offers that I've done, the different people and that I was serving, the different, niches I was in, goodness gracious, like pivoting. And I finally got to this place where I was like, gosh, I've got to stop pivoting, because the pivot every single time is taking me away from just getting that goal from A to B, getting my dream or my reality from where I'm at to the dream that I want to hit. And I see it over and over and over again with my clients. And I think part of it is that vision, like the island B, the goal, the vision of where they want to go isn't clearly defined. And so the path to get there is muddied. They don't know which way to go or how to really actually get from island A to island B, because we don't have that crystal clear vision over there. So I want you to get crystal clear on kind of that vision, right? The vision of where you're going, but then the road to get there. And maybe you don't have that road all the way figured out right now. And that's when you need a coach. That's when you need somebody to help you pull that out of you and help find what's right and true for you. And like I said, that menstrual phase is the best time for you to do that, because that's going to give you that inner intuition, tapping into what's true and right for you. So when you have that crystal clear vision and you have that core roadmap of how you're going to actually get from island A to island B, obviously that's going to turn into more revenue, right? Because you're focusing your attention on one thing and really doing a really great job on that one thing, instead of spending all of your wheels, all of your energy building out 10 or 15 different things that never actually get up off the ground. Now, number 2, this is one of the biggest mistakes that I see women making in the online space, is that you think, and we've been told by so many gurus out there, is this belief and this idea of like, push past the excuses, just keep going, have the motivation, have the momentum, wake up the 5 a.m. club and push hard, go hard, like this. I don't want to just label it hustle culture, because I don't think it's just hustle culture. And I think now even that word hustle culture has kind of got muddied. And so we hear it so often that we're like, oh yeah, hustle culture, right? But what does that actually look like? And what I find is that oftentimes women that are trying to build a business and they're in that phase that it's still kind of a side hustle. It's not generating enough revenue to fully replace like a 9-to-5 or completely change life circumstances. They're still trying to juggle like mom life, 9-to-5 life, work life, like all of the things at the same time. Is that the first thing to go is taking care of themselves and then creating space to do something fun, those pleasurable things, right? Taking a bubble bath or going for a walk or, going on an adventure, all of those types of things, like the fun, those things that feel like extras, they are the first thing that women cut. But maybe you've heard me already mention the Tesla. And this is why I love the analogy of the Tesla, is that a Tesla can go so incredibly fast. Right? I was with a friend of mine the other day and she was like, watch this. When I'm in this spot going to my neighborhood, like in my neighborhood, this one stretch of road, she goes, I love just like punching it on the gas in my Tesla, or not gas. It's not gas in a Tesla. She's like, I love punching it right here and just feeling that surge of how much power is behind the Tesla. And she was like, watch this. And so she like revved it and went from, I don't know, we were at a stoplight. And when we came around started going, she got up to like 50 miles an hour in just a couple of seconds. And that amount of energy, that amount of power that's behind it. But the Tesla has a battery, right? You have to know how far you can go before you have to recharge again. You can't just go and go and go and go and expect that you're going to be able to pull over wherever and just recharge, because not everywhere has charging stations yet. So you have to be intentional and proactive about planning in your charge. So if we somehow didn't do that, if we were not being intentional and we didn't charge up her Tesla and we're driving and we went on we went up Temecula for the boys tournament, the soccer tournament and stuff like that. If we didn't know how far it was going to go, how far we were going to take to get there, how much energy it was going to require, and we ran out along the way, we might be stranded, right? And that's the same for you. Like your body's the same way. We as human beings, and as women particularly, we need to recharge. In order for us to be incredibly powerful, incredibly strong, got lots of bang behind our punch and like go really fast, we have to be able to recharge. It's like this essential thing that becomes, and then we see it all the time, like even as moms, like not even in business, like moms sacrificing self-care and things like that because it's like not productive. We've got to get all these other productive things done. The thing is that you are more productive and you're going to be far more successful. You're going to be able to produce bigger ideas, bigger results, be more productive when you're fully charged, when you have the energy to do what you need to do. And so when you actually take that time away, when you actually, go for a walk and you get outside and you go into nature, it's amazing how much your body needs that and how much your mind needs that. And I don't know about you, but when I go outside and go for a walk, I oftentimes come back feeling like powered to get stuff done in my business. I had a new idea that came, or I feel motivated, or something that I need to write in an email, or I was able to connect with my, a project I was working on, and it just that click and like something happened. And so those are the moments that allow me to perform at my best. They allow me to create my biggest projects. I mean, if you've ever been sitting there like staring at a screen and felt like, gosh, I just can't get this out, like writer's block, or, like things weren't clicking and you just couldn't figure it out. And then you just say, I'm done with it. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to go do something else. And then you come back and it's like, as soon as you stop thinking about it, the idea downloads and you get that idea that you were trying so hard to get. And that's what I see so many women doing, is kind of trying to muscle their way through it. And maybe even if you have such a small window of time to actually work on your business and you're still doing all the other things in life, like we still have to fit that in. Even if it's just a small window of time that you're doing business stuff, you have to find carved time to recharge in those other areas. You have to have that space. Because that space is what's going to actually give you those ideas that are going to generate the most revenue for you. They're going to allow you to show up for your clients the best. They're going to allow you to pitch your offers in a way that you feel like you are there and present and confident in what you're offering. Imagine if you got on a sales call with a coach and they came to the call and they were just like, and you could feel it, right? Like you can feel when people are tired, you know it. Versus that call when you maybe get on and that person comes in and they feel so grounded and so present, versus the person that you get on a call with and they just have this like sparkle in their eye and they seem so grounded and so like lit up and present in that moment. I can guarantee you that that coach is going to be more likely to attract clients and convert their clients and have more clients than the coach that's showing up to calls exhausted. Even if they're showing up to calls and they're trying to fake it, people feel that. So now when we think about like creating space for this, right? To create space for taking care of yourself, oftentimes the pushback we get is I don't have enough time, right? There's not enough time in my day. There's not enough time in my month. And that is one of the beautiful things about your cycle. It has a different focus for each phase of the month. And so in that recharge phase, you have an optimal time to say, hey, that is what this time is entirely focused to. I don't have to worry about getting this space and recharging and doing all these things all month long, which, I mean, honestly, that would be great. And I firmly encourage it if possible. But even if you were just to take 1 week out of the month and say, this is the week that I'm going to make sure I'm recharging myself. This is the week that I'm going to make sure I'm creating space. I'm going to give myself permission to say no to more things this week than other weeks. Imagine how much more free you'd feel to do that, to set those boundaries and to say no and to create that space if you knew it's just this 1 week. And you knew it was going to happen every single month. There is something magical. I don't know what it is about like this realization that your cycle can have this balance throughout the whole month. And I've watched it transform clients like from day one of learning about their cycle and learning about each of the different phases and how it really applies and integrates into their life. They breathe like this fresh air, like from the very beginning. It's like a weight just got lifted from their shoulders. Imagine if that was the energy you were bringing to a sales call, or that is the energy that you're bringing to your events, your launches, to your podcast. I mean, full transparency and honesty. There are plenty of times that I've come to a podcast episode like this, even in one of the most recent ones, like I feel like I'm stumbling over my words. I feel like I'm drained. I'm exhausted. I'll be honest, there's some episodes that take me like retakes and retakes and retakes. And it has taken me like 6 hours to get done. That is not me operating in my prime, right? That's me wasting my time when I could be spending it on something that's going to help generate more revenue in my business. And it really comes down to creating that space and tapping into those zones of when you're going to operate the best, which is what number 3 is, which is really operating and doing the tasks on your to-do list in alignment with where your cycle's at. Because when you are operating in alignment with where your cycle's at, you're going to be able to, one, get things done faster. You're going to be able to stay in that zone of genius, but it really allows you to, especially your connect phase. If you are doing your launch, your webinars, your trainings, all of those types of things, when you're in that prime time, you're going to be so much more magnetic to people. They're going to feel you. They're going to feel your energy, and it's going to feel so much better. So I had this client, and she was talking about launching. And she ended up launching in that week when she was on her menstrual phase. And she was exhausted and drained and did not want to show up on camera. She forced herself to do it, right? Because she was in the middle of launch. But yet there was something in her, every time she got on camera, she was dreading it. And those other times when you're I could be here all day. This feels so great. This feels wonderful. I'm connecting with these people. I see them. I feel them. I hear them. I'm connected. Very, very different. You're going to see your revenue increase exponentially when you're operating in that zone all the time. When you're scheduling your sales calls, when you're scheduling your launches, when you're scheduling all of those things at a time when you feel like you can be fully present, fully in that moment, immersive and magnetic, it just feels so, so different. Now, if you don't know what those 4 phases are already, I would highly encourage you to go over to reneefick.com/cyclesyncbiz and grab the guide that talks about the 3 ways that your cycle is impacting your life and business. There's a cycle tracker in there. And then once you grab that, then you'll get a couple more emails that I'm going to share some ins and outs, some insider sort of secrets about how your cycle is really impacting your life and what those 4 phases are. Definitely can go back and listen to, I think it's like episode 1, 2, 3, somewhere in the beginning there, we talked about the 4 phases of your cycle, but really mapping that out and being proactive in your business is going to be massively key to generating more revenue. Like, so much so. Oftentimes I find like what happens for women is that they're wanting to build this business and they get this burst of momentum. They get this burst of motivation. They feel really good. They feel really great. And they go hard for a short period of time. And then one of those other phases kicks in and they feel like, gosh, I'm not doing a great job. I'm not doing great. I don't want to do this. I don't know what I'm doing. And then it perpetuates and then they fall off and they lose that motivation and momentum. That is not a sustainable way to build a business. But when you know what the 4 phases are and how they're going to actually impact you, and instead of resisting them, you just know that I'm going to instead shift from one to the next, to the next, to the next, then you can focus on things in each one of those different phases. It's going to help move you forward in your revenue. It's going to help you generate more clients. It's going to help you connect better with your clients. It's going to help you get better client transformations. All of those types of things. You have to know what those 4 phases are. Okay. Now, lastly, number 4 is that one of the big things I have learned in business over the last few years is that much of your success in business has nothing to do with what you're actually doing. It really doesn't. I mean, you have to do things in your business, but really I've been one of those people to check off the list and done all of the things. I've followed all the rules. I've followed all the like step-by-steps and still felt like I failed and fell flat on my face so many times. So many times. And what I've come to discover is that much of your success in business is going to be to the level of how much you're willing to do the inner work and how much you're willing to release those thoughts that are going through your head and telling you you're not good enough, that you're not capable enough, that, oh, this person's doing it better, or the comparison or self-sabotage, all of those things, like that is going to be the level of which you achieve your success and your goals, right? And when we start to look at that, there's actually a prime time in your month that you can do that. In that reflect phase, those thoughts and those feelings and those insecurities and those doubts are going to come up to the surface much easier than any other time of the month. So when you know that that's what's happening and you're really intentional about it, you can allow yourself to dig deep into those areas, pull back the layers. And I always people talk about like pulling back the onion layers, but I'm like me, an onion makes my eyes water so freaking bad. I hate cutting onions because of how much it makes my eyes water. So I don't like thinking of it as peeling back onions and crying and all this emotional stuff, which part of it might be. But I like to think of it more of this lotus. Right? We're going to peel back one petal at a time of this lotus. And at the end, we're going to have this beautiful, gorgeous flower, right? So think if you want to transition your thought process in like peeling back the layers from an onion to a lotus, steal that, take that and run with it because it's so much more a better visual for me. So when you're peeling back all of those layers of thoughts, of doubts, of stories, of beliefs that you've been ingrained with over the course of your life, what happens is it puts you in a place of being able to attract more revenue and let go of the things that are weighing you down. We don't oftentimes think about it, but throughout our life, we're all like every experience, every belief, every thought, we're like putting it in our backpack. And it's just back there. Most of them are not serving us. And so that backpack just gets heavier and it gets heavier and it gets heavier. And you don't even really notice or realize how heavy that backpack has gotten. It just becomes your norm. Right? It's just this thing that you're carrying around all the time. It's like when I started eating really healthy after my fifth baby. Oh my gosh, I've not had 5 babies. After my 3rd baby about 5 years ago. That's what I was meaning to say. She's 6 now. So 6 years ago, after her, I started eating much healthier than I'd been eating before. When I was in grad school, I literally was eating like mac and cheese and TV dinners, just trying to do stuff that was easy and quick and that did not require a lot of prep. Yes. So going from that to how can I actually eat better and in a way that's like sustaining my body? And I was pretty rigid with it, like pretty on target with my nutrition for a really long time. And I had this day where we were out at a party and I ate a piece of cake. And after having like 8 weeks of eating really clean, mostly vegetables, mostly like light fruits, some proteins and things like that, like very clean, unprocessed foods, and then eating this cake, it was literally probably within 15 minutes that I had a headache. I felt lethargic. I felt tired. Well, lethargic and tired are the same word, but I just felt gross. My stomach felt bloated. And it was amazing to me to see the shift in such a quick amount of time, and how for so long I had grown accustomed to feeling crappy all of the time. I had grown accustomed to surviving on coffee and just eating sugar and things and feeling heavy, like in my head, right? Your brain fog, your head feels bad, your body's feeling lethargic, all of these things. But I didn't associate it to my food at all. And I didn't know that there was another possibility until I experienced some of the freedom of not living that way, right? And like not living in a way that I was feeling lethargic and tired and just exhausted and brain fogged and all of those things. And then when I went back and felt what it felt like, I was like, gosh, was I living like that all of the time? Was I really living in this place of kind of half there all of the time when I was eating that food? And that's what I think sometimes we're doing as we move through life, is we're not fully stepped into all that is available to us. We're not fully stepped into everything you were created to be, because you're carrying around that weight and those rocks in your backpack. And in order for you to step into that next level of income in your business, you have to start releasing some of those out of your backpack. The belief that tells you you're not deserving of the income you desire, that other people don't want to invest in you, that what you have to offer is too expensive, maybe that you're not good with money, that if a client invests in you, that you have to just give and give and give and give, and that because you're not valuing your worth and what you have to offer. There's so many layers to this that for me, this was the area that kept me stuck in my business for so long. This was the area that I was working on and pulling back layers, but didn't really totally get it until I started to see some freedom from some of these beliefs and started to watch my revenue 5x and triple and quickly grow when I started to let go of some of these beliefs. And honestly, one of the biggest ones that is impacting most women that I work with, their ability to generate more revenue in their business, is that one that I kind of highlighted a little bit ago, in that sense of it's keeping them from charging what they're worth. And I know that even that word, like charge what you're worth, is kind of sticky because there's a whole different can of worms we could open up there. And I've heard lots of people talking about different things about like charging what you're worth online. But for the most part, most women are undervaluing what they have to offer. This is one that for me has taken a lot. And one of the key ways that you can notice this is if right now, like say for instance, you're charging like $100 for your program or a coaching client or whatever it is, like $100 an hour. If right now you're charging $100 an hour, and if I came to you and we were talking and we decided like, hey, you know what? You need to up that a little bit. Let's put that at $1,000. How would you feel? Like, what did your gut just do? Did your gut just say like, heck no, there's no way. I couldn't charge $1,000 for my program. There's no way. That is a huge indicator that this is an area that you have some work to do. And honestly, it doesn't matter what the numbers are, right? So right now, if maybe right now you are charging $1,000 for your program, what if I said, okay, let's talk about upping that to $10,000? What just happened in your gut? Does it sit there and say like, yeah, like I could totally charge $10,000? Or do you have a moment where you're like, ooh, I don't think I could do that? And like I said, it really doesn't matter the numbers. It's looking at where you are and do you feel like there's this gut check? Do you feel 100% good about what you're charging and say like, this is worth my time. This is worth my energy. This is worth everything. And I'm not saying that you have to go out there and just double all of your programs and all of your your coaching clients, like charge everybody tons more, but do take a quick look at like, am I undervaluing really what I have to offer? Chances are you are. And I think a big part of that is that women, we just don't celebrate our experience. We don't celebrate the successes that we have to offer. We don't really pay attention to the testimonials, right? Highlight your testimonials, your clients' successes, your clients' wins. Like, quick question, when was the last time you actually shared a bunch of that on your social media or in an email? Shared it with your audience, these wins that your clients are getting? Or do you kind of downplay them, keep them just in wraps? I know for sure I do not share enough the wins that my clients are getting. This is definitely an area that I've been growing and been stretched and pushed. And like I said, I'm being real and honest with you because it's just like the game keeps up leveling, right? Every time you get pushed and you grow and your box grows and it grows and it gets bigger and it gets bigger and it's bigger. When I first started my business, I think the very first offer that I put out, I was charging $30 for an 8-week coaching program, $30. And I think a lot of it was pre-recorded and there wasn't a ton. I think there was a Facebook group. I don't even remember all the details, to be totally honest, but there was a whole heck of a lot of work that I put into it for about $30, maybe $50, something like that. $50. And I remember at the time a coach telling me like, gosh, this is way, way more than $50 worth of value. Like, how can we increase this? And I felt so uncomfortable increasing it from $50. There was nothing in me that could do it. Then fast forward a few years later, did a new program and I charged $150. The first time I did that one program, I did 80 and then 150. But even then, I felt like I was charging an arm and a leg for my program. Arm and a leg. To fast forward now, to work with me one-on-one, I charge $5,000 currently. That's a massive shift. A massive shift from me going to working $50 in this group coaching for 8-week space to now $5,000. To me, I'm not bragging and I'm not putting this out there is like, oh, this is what to be braggadocious at all. But what I'm saying is that I've noticed a direct reflection in how much I value what I have to offer and the experiences that I have and the successes that for my clients that I've gotten and all of these things. It's directly related to the revenue I'm bringing in my business. That's where this whole conversation was going. It may not have felt like that because I kind of went a little bit around the boat, but really, truly, the amount and the level of self-worth you have and the belief in what you have to offer is going to be a direct relationship and direct correlation to your revenue. So if right now your revenue is not where you want it to be, my challenge for you is to start looking at where you're undervaluing what you have to offer. It may not actually be raising your rates like I did. Maybe it looks like actually being willing to pitch your offer. Maybe it looks like being willing to put yourself out there on social media so that you actually can make an offer. Because that is definitely one of those thoughts that's back there in the back of your head, right? Sometimes I see that clients are like, I can't put myself out there. I don't know what to talk about. I don't know what to share. What would I even post about? But what if somebody out there needed to hear what you had to offer? And that maybe stepping into this place of that is no longer about you, but it's about them. And do you have something of value that you could help transform their life? And if you do, and you put it out there and you make that available to people, you will see a direct correlation in your revenue. Guarantee it. Okay, so let's recap this. So number one, getting crystal clear on your vision, creating one roadmap, one path to getting there, and your recharge phase, your menstrual cycle phase, that is the best phase for you to do that. Step number 2 was creating the space to actually recharge. So that recharge phase as well, great time for you to actually create that space to focus in on recharging, letting those biggest revenue generating ideas come in, letting those things that are really like finding that one thing and the thing that's going to make the most impact in your business. You have to create the space for that thing to come and to be there and to be able to see that and feel that. Okay. Number 3 is operating in alignment with where your cycle's at so that you're getting tasks done in the zones that are going to be the most magnetic, the most radiant, the most connective with your audience. Making sure you're doing your live launches in your connect phase, making sure you're doing your writing in those reflect phases, making sure that you're doing your biggest projects and all those other things in that accelerate phase, making sure that you are operating in alignment so that you have the sustainability, the magnetism, the connection, all of those types of things. And then lastly, step number 4 is that reflect phase is your prime time for you to actually hone in and finding those beliefs that are actually limiting you from charging the worth and the value of the transformation that you have to offer. I guarantee if you go through all 4 of these steps, you will see a massive increase in your revenue, 100%. Okay, and then lastly, if you have gone through this episode and there's been moments in here where you're like, ooh, I need that. And even in the beginning when we talked about like the value that having a coach has on your business, like having a coach and having somebody to be your champion and in that help peel back some of those layers for you is invaluable for your business. And if you are looking for somebody that can help you do that, help take your business to the next level, help you attract more clients, but doing it in this more sustainable way with your cycle as like the core foundation of how you run and operate your business, I do have availability for some strategy calls to really map that out for you, help you get crystal clear on that vision, help you get crystal clear on that offer, help you get crystal clear on all of those next steps so that you can really amplify that, see yourself and that transformation for what it's really worth. Like literally every step that we just went through today, I would love to be able to help you do that. Just go over to reneefick.com/strategy and you and I can hop on the phone. This is a no pressure like phone call. Like I am here to help you get that clarity, find out what those next steps are for you so that you can get to that next level. And if you and I are a good fit to work together, whether in one-on-one or in the group or in some other fashion, I'd be happy to share that with you, but there is literally no pressure. It really is about helping you find those next right steps for you. So go on over to there. It's reneefick.com/strategy, and I will see you in the next episode.